This week we're going to share with you what we would consider some of our successes and failures into our first 7 months of living off-grid and starting to homestead.
Oh, good, Daddy.
All right, so one thing we did do right when we got here, God bless you, was we got everybody rubber boots. That has been a huge help on the homestead. Now, these were Catch's first one, and there is a difference. These are just fairly cheap ones from Walmart. They are super thick and they are really rubber. These came from a different store, and they've got a pattern on them. They're a lot thinner. They could be rubber, they could be like some kind of vinyl or something like that, but clearly, see them? They did not even hold up. You know what, I don't know, 4 to 6 months, they didn't make it. These other ones, nothing wrong with these. Oh, no, you're not switching them. You're not switching them, baby. Oh, great. All right, I guess you can wear them one more time.
We consider the ducks a failure, and I'll try to keep it short and explain to you why. Ducks are really attractive on paper. When you research them online, you'll read things like they can lay just as many eggs or more than chickens. They're even better foragers than chickens. They can eat more off the land, and they require less feed intake. You'll read about how cold hardy they are and how water hardy they are. That unlike a chicken who might get bothered by some rain and some cold weather and want to stay inside or seek shelter, ducks will come out and celebrate when it's rainy or cold or snowing. They could care less. Also, you know, people talk about the egg size. Every duck egg you get is typically a little bit larger than the average chicken egg. We've eaten the duck eggs. We've only gotten a few. They taste great. But even though they look great on paper, they do have some drawbacks, especially when you're first starting off and you're busy and you need easy keepers. And time is of the essence. For one, ducks are absolutely filthy with their water. They make a tremendous mess of the water. It's impossible to keep it clean. The only, I would say, scenario that would work out great is if you already had like a fenced pond or lake, which we're considering. And we're not getting rid of the ducks anytime soon, unless a Chinese restaurant opens nearby. But you know, the other drawback is they're extremely noisy. If you're, depending on where you locate them on your farm, or if you're rotating them, you know, it can be a drawback sometimes because you can't even be near them and communicate with somebody. They're so loud sometimes you got to walk away to talk. You know, they also don't train as easily as chickens do to shelter. You know, I went through a battle with that and just gave up on trying to train them to shelter. They really just don't want nothing to do with it. At least mine don't. Also, getting them to go up at night. They don't want to do that either. Had no problems training chickens to go up at night and to stay in shelter when the time was to do that. Chickens with water, you know, you can train them to drink out of those chicken water nipple things in a bucket, and they keep their water pristine. Also, when ducks are feeding, they make a huge sloppy mess when they're eating. I mean, they'll shoot stuff and smack stuff with their bills everywhere. Now, chickens, when they peck, if they peck into like a bowl of food, they can make a mess too, but typically they tend to be a little more accurate when they're pecking, and they don't make as much a mess as ducks do. So overall, I consider a failure because we shouldn't have gotten them. We should have gotten chickens. But, you know, sometimes you just don't know till you try. And we did not know that ducks are not as easy a keeper as chickens are. The only caveat to that I would say is unless you already have a pond or some sort of lake that's fenced, then I think they could be extremely easy keepers. So we're considering that for the future, maybe putting a pond in on this slope of the pasture. But until then, they're on the failure list. If I could do it over again, I would have got chickens. Just sharing with you, hopefully these experiences and these things we share with you might help you on your journey if you're doing something similar to us. One more thing is, due to no fault of their own, we're not probably going to get many eggs until spring. The reason is we wanted to brood them off-grid, which means we had to get all our ducklings between spring and summer. We were able to brood them without a heating lamp, without electricity, but that puts their maturity date into the cold weather in the beginning of fall going into winter. So we've had really inconsistent egg production, and we've also had some frost. Now, a lot of people say that the cold weather doesn't bother ducks as much as it does chickens and doesn't decrease their egg production as much, but it does a little bit. And clearly, going into maturity at the exact same time as the cold weather does play a role in how many eggs you'll get. And so we've barely gotten any. I do think, you know, once spring rolls around, we'll probably have so many eggs we can't even stand it. But that's just something else we're having to deal with. Again, that's actually not related to the ducks being a success or a failure, but when you're brooding off grid, you know, your first set of ducklings or even chicks might go into maturity in the cold weather, and so it could delay you getting eggs from when you think you're going to start getting good egg production. This is probably one of our biggest successes, the trailer shed. You know, when we were moving up here, we had no idea how much stuff we were going to bring with us, what all we were going to keep stored, and so I won't say it was a gamble, but you know, there was a lot of uncertainties going into using something like this for hauling your stuff up here and then storing it. It has been a huge success. Living inside something like your tiny house or a barn cabin like we are, or whatever you're doing, that you're finishing the inside while you're living in it, it can be a real challenge. And having a good place to store all your belongings or things that aren't ready to come inside the house is super, super helpful. And the trailer shed has been that for us. Everything from tools to clothes to kitchen items we're not ready for, scrap wood. Having some sort of storage on your homestead is absolutely essential from day one. And I'm telling you, this has kept so many things dry and weather tight and organized. After we went through and organized it, it has been a huge help. And this one decision we consider to be a great part of our success so far, just having this shed that we built, and again, multifunctional. We were able to use it to move everything up here, but we still use it almost every day, going in and out, getting things we need like tools, keeping things out of the rain. It has been phenomenal, and we are so glad that we built it. So this we consider a huge success. So here's another one of our failures right here. You might remember some of our previous videos. We had a chest freezer on the front porch that was hooked up to a temperature controller and to the generator. Well, during the summertime, we were running the generator almost 24/7 just to at least have fans in the house because it got so hot and the house wasn't done being fully insulated, and we're still figuring things out. Well, the chest freezer, we were buying groceries and keeping things that need to be refrigerated in there and just having to literally run 24/7. There was times during the summer where we could have turned it off at night or on certain rainy days or stuff where the temperature wasn't bad, but we had to keep it running constantly, and that costs a lot of money in gas. So we decided at one point, it kind of had an epiphany and said, why are we buying all these meals and groceries that require refrigeration? What if we started thinking differently when we were in the grocery store and looking at things differently and buying groceries that could make meals that didn't require refrigeration? And that was a game changer for us. You'd be surprised if you walk through a grocery store and through your produce section and other places with different eyes when you're thinking, I'm buying for meals that don't require refrigeration. How many good meals you can make without refrigeration and don't need refrigeration. And I think some other people online are already ahead of the curve on this, but it's a revelation to us. We've been doing it for probably a month and a half, 2 months now, and we love it. And of course, the weather's been gorgeous. We've been using the wood burning stove. We've been saving a fortune on gas. So, starting off grid and being reliant on some technologies that require electricity and gasoline, you know, it probably isn't the best decision. We were learning as we go, but I would consider that a failure because it cost us a lot of money and it was a bad decision. But sometimes you learn a lot from bad decisions. So, chest freeze refrigerator, really neat. Possible when we go solar. Right now, for completely off grid with no electricity, not a good idea.
Okay, so Matt got a job at the rock quarry down the street. So it's a little hard to figure out when to film the videos and when to upload it. So just be patient as we probably change our upload date, and we will still try and do a weekly video and see how we can do.
In our next couple videos, along with this one, we're going to continue discussing what we think are successes and failures. So be on the lookout for those. We're not done yet. There's a lot more to come. What a great stick. They sell sticks just like that in Halloween stores.
Tuesday, show. Do that.
Here, let me try to see if it fits
Dad,
my head.
after we gotta show something. But we never.
Does it fit?
Yeah.
There's always time for fun.
Daddy.
Oh, it fell. Hold on. I'm still trying to get the hang of this thing.
That kind of defeats the purpose.
Okay, hold on. And then you'd edit the video and you'd be like, oh. You're too short and I can see the stick a little good. It got you. Alright, put it in the pile. Let's go.
No,
Love you, got one piece left to cut there.
An arrow.